Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. My name is Aaron Viles. I am your host tonight. We have a wonderful episode for you this week. We're going to cover a couple of critical stories, one out of DC, one out of Frankfort. We're going to bring on, I think, a very informative guest, Lane Boldman, with the Kentucky Conservation Committee to discuss some really important bills that are happening in Frankfort right now that have an environmental impact and how you can help. And we've got, of course, Kimberly giving us the news under 5, plus a special kind of focus on a Kentuckian of note, especially here for Black History Month. So we're in February. We should talk about Black history. And we got a few, I think, different tie-ins to Black History Month this episode. So listen for those. But before we jump into it, I want to make sure that you're ready to turn Kentucky purple. We know that our Commonwealth has some work to do if we're going to beat back the red wave of bad politics and bad policy from our GOP supermajority in Frankfort. Every time you turn around, they're doing something ridiculous, looking to cut out public participation in the legislative process, looking to limit the public's ability to know what is happening in Frankfort, looking to limit the ability of the public to actually select their legislators. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but we need your help to make them better. This is not going to get better if we just throw up our hands and walk away. We got to roll up our sleeves and dig in. So if you want a Commonwealth that works for all of us, join Progress Kentucky. It is easy to do. Just follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you spend time on social media. Make sure to like, share, and then comment on our content. Help juice the algorithms, that engagement that is so important. We don't have any Russian troll farms working for us, people. It just got to be the actual folks here in Kentucky. So we need you to give us a thumbs up. Leave us a review if you're listening to this as a podcast. Reviews are really helpful. And share out the show. If you're watching right now, just give us a thumbs up. We like those. So let's check in with our co-host. Let's see who you are, where you are, and what does your protest sign say today. You there on the internet, go ahead and let us know where you are, what you're protesting today. Maybe what have you got? I don't know. So I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a lovely community on the growth boundary of Lexington, Fayette County. My protest sign, it's not a sign, it's a protest shirt today, and it's in honor of our guest. The shirt says, "There is no planet B." So let's get this one right. Let's save the one we've got. Let me check in with my co-hosts. Kimberly, are you there?
Kimberly. Yes, I am here. How are you this evening?
Wonderful.
I always have a problem with the mute, right? So I'm here live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I have a protest sign today. And my protest sign would be hashtag make a way for CRT. That would definitely be my protest sign today.
Awesome. I'm here for it. Make a way for it. We have to teach some folks some things. There's some things we need to know. All right, Nate, what do you got for us? Nate.
Oh, we're having some difficulty here. I hope I'm coming through okay. Hey, it's Nate Orshan coming live and direct from Kits in my home here in South Frankfort, Kentucky. And this week, this protest sign would say, if I wrote it, I stand with Governor Andy because he stands with us.
Nice. I like it. Thank you, Nate. Thanks for that protest sign, and thanks for joining us, and Kimberly as well. We got a great bench here for you tonight, and we're going to jump into, I think, the first story, which I am very honored to bring you, which is about some ridiculously in DC. So our liber-hair-i-twins have been up to no good in Washington, D.C. Most recently, because I think they grab headlines for, it's rarely good when Rand Paul or Thomas Massie are in the news. They are rarely showing us to be a thoughtful state in terms of who we are bringing to represent us in Washington, D.C. But our friend Rand Paul got a little bit of attention because he proudly went to a restaurant an hour or so after it had been shut down by the city of DC because the restaurant was proudly and loudly ignoring vaccine mandates, ignoring kind of masking rules, which, you might not know what those are because we're in Kentucky, but in a lot of cities and states around the country, they've been really protective of public health. And if you wanted to go out to say like, work out, or if you want to go to eat inside a restaurant, you have to have a vaccination card. I don't think we've ever done that in Kentucky. I don't know that there's any cities that are doing it. When I went to a meeting down in New Orleans, I had to do that. It actually made me feel a heck of a lot safer, knowing that you had to be vaccinated to be in a restaurant and or listen to some live music. And but DC, with a kind of focus on public health, has those rules in place. The big board restaurant decided they were going to ignore them, and Rand Paul decided they were going to, support those efforts. And of course, wherever Rand Paul goes, Thomas Massie is going to try to figure out if he can be there as well. Thomas Massie, of course, who, most recently infamously quoted what he thought was Voltaire, but turned out to be a pedophile neo-Nazi. So not exactly, like not the greatest characters, I'll be honest, these guys. But yeah, I think they thought, they're absolutely committed to pushing back against public health mandates. And here's what Rand Paul said in the newsletter he sent out to me as a constituent, that the owners have made the courageous decision to defy the un-American and anti-science masking and vaccine mandates. He truly believes that, vaccine mandates and masking is anti-science, which confounds me. But he's saying that the restaurant is standing against petty tyrants in the fight for individual freedom, which, not really shocking, right? What have we seen from Rand Paul the entire COVID epidemic? Horrible decisions about public health mandates, right? From the very first days when he had COVID and been exposed to COVID, knew he'd been exposed, and went, swimming at the Washington DC at the Senate Athletic Club so he could expose a bunch of, really, really old folks, the Senate, senators, to his potential infections. And then, he's been picking fights with Fauci each and every opportunity. And he thinks that fighting COVID restrictions, fighting Fauci is a political winner for folks of his political persuasion. In fact, he's on TV right now talking about how horrible Fauci is and how he needs to go. You might not have seen that ad because that ad is actually in Ohio. That's right. Rand Paul is the star of a new commercial on behalf of Mike Gibbons, who is running in the competitive Republican U.S. Senate primary for our neighbors to the north there in Ohio. That's one J.D. Vance and a bunch of other folks are running for. So Rand Paul's backing Mike Gibbons, rich investment banker who is all about the libertarian way, just like Rand. And so, Mike Gibbons said, "Hey, can you come and do a voiceover for a commercial for me?" And Rand's like, "Yeah, and here's what you should talk about." He's like all fired up about pushing back on public health restrictions. So heaven help us all. Rand Paul is so safe, he thinks, here in Kentucky, that he's helping other senators who want to, or other folks try to join him in the Senate. I think we need to make it a lot more challenging for him. And in fact, I think we need to get rid of that guy completely. That's my very partisan perspective on this. But what do you guys think? Anyone have any thoughts about what we're seeing from Massie and Rand Paul? How about you, Kimberly?
When it comes to Rand Paul, I say this every week, and you all always get me with my granny glasses on, because I can't find my other glasses. But I just want to say this, like, it gives me such a headache. You see how I'm doing this? Because it's the same thing. It's so repetitive. It's like if we put money down, and if I was a betting type of woman and one of his support, I would win all the time because of the simple fact of just who they are. And I'm just going to go by the great poet laureate, the great author and motivational and spiritual woman, Maya Angelou. And I'm just going to say this. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Oh yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I feel like I should apologize to the people who are watching this show. Are like, wait a minute, is this a rerun? Is Rand Paul still like just pushing back against public health? Man, is that all he's got? Is that his entire re-election campaign? Like, apparently he thinks that's all he needs to do in Washington D.C. is be a gadfly about public health mandates, and that people are really tired about public health mandates. Which I don't think it's true. I think people want to just be safe. They're tired of the pandemic, but I don't think anyone believes the best way to address it is by ignoring vaccine mandates or ignoring public health protections like masking. So I don't know. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, I really, I have so many feelings. No, you can say that some such and such is anti-American. Okay, fine, whatever. But you can't say it's anti-science. Oh, my sweet Lord. No. The masking, the vaccination, it is so vetted. It is so statistically proven over and over and over again. So to say that something is anti-science is just the height of irresponsibility. And yes, here we are again. It's Groundhog Day. It's a day that ends in Y. And once again, these buffoons are, making us look bad.
I just have like one little small thing that I would like to add to that, because I've really been keeping my eyes out for what is the problem. And someone said it best. I can't remember where I saw it or read it. I can't remember. But what they said was, the majority of us, we have not really seen what this virus will do to you. We're not on the front lines at the hospital, seeing people gasping for air, feeling like concrete is on their chest. We have not seen what it takes to be on a ventilator. So when we as Americans, when we don't see something, we scale it down, or we're very dismissive of something. So Rand Paul had the virus and got over it. Just like me, I had it, I got over it. So they think this is what's going to happen for everybody, but it's not. And I think sometimes they need to blur out the person's face and show what is really happening in these hospitals, and why our nurses and doctors are so upset with us and just tired, exhausted, and some are even getting out of the field that they love and have worked for so long.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Kimberly. It's just that these guys just treat it like it doesn't really matter what they say, but it does, right? The vaccine, as Nate said, of course, is scientifically vetted. Of course, it's it's actually authorized. It's not emergency authorized. It's actually authorized because it's proven to be impactful and effective and not have much in the way of negative downsides. So and that's not hard to figure out, right? When every day they talk about how many folks are on ventilators in Kentucky, and it's still hundreds of people, and how many of those people are vaccinated, and it's zero, right? So yeah, like pretty easy, like do the math on that one. You don't have to have an advanced degree in statistics to figure out, wow, that's a very useful vaccine. Maybe I should get it and get boosted. Yeah, so it's the height of irresponsibility for Rand Paul to be running around saying what he's saying. I hope everyone has signed our petition. If you have not signed our petition, there is the link. Go do it. We're going to push back on Rand Paul. We should not let him get away with these anti-public health statements. The guy's a doctor. He leans on his credibility as a doctor to, get more ridiculous people fired up about what he's saying. So I think it's really important. So, all right, good story. Thanks for covering it with me, folks. We're going to now move to the more local, and I think Nate's got a story that I'm excited to learn about. Nate, what do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks. So this one comes to us from Deborah Yetter at the Courier Journal. It was posted just this past Monday, February 7th, 2022, in case you're listening to this way in the future. So last Thursday, on February 3rd, Senate Bill 40 was passed out of the Judiciary Committee, and it's now going to the full Senate. All right, what's the deal? This short little bill, shepherded by Republican Senator Stephen West from Paris, it's called the Parents' Rights Protection Act, and it says that, according to the Courier Journal, quote, parents shall have the right to make decisions for their children, including their education, and that no state government entity may interfere with those rights unless proven by, quote, clear and convincing evidence, unquote, that such action is warranted. The next paragraph reads further, it expands the rights of parents who believe their rights have been violated to sue, and if successful, it entitles them to attorney's fees and costs. And, I read that and I was like, huh? Don't parents already have the rights to make decisions for their kids? Well, come to find out, Senator West says the bill's purpose is really in making sure that parents' rights are, quote, highly protected, unquote, from governmental intrusion. Even though he says he's, quote, not aware of any significant problems in Kentucky, unquote, as he told the Judiciary Committee, sorry, there's a lot of quotes here, quote, this is really a preemptive attempt to stop things that may be coming along. So, who all would be against such a seemingly innocuous bill? Well, how about the ACLU of Kentucky, the Fairness Campaign, even fellow Republican Senator Danny Carroll from down there in Paducah, shout out to Paducah, who told the Judiciary Committee, quote, I think we're going to push people away from helping kids, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think this bill will make it less likely for people to get involved, unquote. The executive director of the nonpartisan group Kentucky Youth Advocates, her name is Terry Brooks, was even more to the point. She said, quote, I honestly believe these parents' rights are already encoded in law. I believe they exist already, and to restate them is not necessary, unquote. Now, it turns out that this is at least the second time that Senator West has proposed an act relating to the rights of parents. There was this other bill that he was involved with during the 2020 session that was SB 116. And although that one had a more granular degree of detail about the unalienable rights of a parent, the point is that Senator West is no stranger to feeling the need to reemphasize things that are in all likelihood, and remember, friends, I'm not a lawyer or legislator, in all likelihood, they're already codified in Kentucky or federal law. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Big surprise. I'm going to say this time around that Senator West is feeling a little more emboldened to try to score points with ultra-conservatives because of what has been a clearly organized campaign of harassment of school boards and teachers across the country over the past year regarding this imaginary threat of critical race theory, which, remember, is something you'd usually learn about in grad school, not grade school, or during public health measures such as requiring face masks during a contagious respiratory disease pandemic, all in the name of parents' rights. Yes, if there's one thing an ultra-conservative politician knows they can take to the bank in every sense, it's riling up their like-minded constituents with the fictitious threat of losing control of their families. And a less charitable person than me might suggest it's part and parcel of the horror that so many ultra-conservative folks seem to feel about, progress, modernity, and human rights, but I won't go there. So, in the end, wrapping things up, what will happen if this bill passes and someday it is used successfully by some violent parent to keep their child living with them in their abusive household? Will it still be worth the sad, sad points Senator West scored to ensure the victory of the self-righteous? Back to you, Progress Kentucky.
That's an important story, and I think it just goes to show what the supermajority gets us, right? Just emboldened to bring the craziest and the worst ideas forward and try to write them down into a comprehensible bill, which, this seems like they've missed the mark on it when you've got, your hardcore Republicans, colleagues saying that this is a bad idea. And this is a state that, consistently is the worst of the worst in terms of, child abuse and child treatment. And, the idea that you're going to like make it even, kind of more opportunities for kids to suffer by poorly written legislation that solves zero problems. It's just unfortunate. I don't know. Kimberly, what do you think?
I do, being a parent myself, I think that we should have some say when our child goes to school and what they're going to be learning or what they're not going to be teaching. However, you can take something that's so right and so good for this parental agreement bill. However, there's always a yin and a yang. There's always an up and a down. So let's look at the people on the other side that would use that as a catalyst for their own ideologies, like, okay, yeah, I want my kid to learn all about the history of the KKK. Is that too far reaching?
I guess it depends on how you're teaching it, right? I don't know. As I'm a parent too, and I definitely try to remain engaged in my kids' school and what they're learning and how they're learning it. But look, I'm not an educator, so I don't feel like it's my role to tell the school what to teach. And I think when you get a bunch of riled up parents making decisions or pressuring school boards, like we talked about mouse, I think a couple episodes ago, right? And how that has been banned in a school district in Tennessee because they don't want them to learn, they didn't want to see the dirty word, like 8th graders seeing a couple of dirty words and half like a drawing of a naked mouse, I believe, which seems really these are kids who all have access to tablets or phones. I pretty much guarantee it. They've seen a lot worse, they've heard a lot worse, and the idea that they're going to go make sure they don't learn an effective way to kind of process the Holocaust, like, again, like, let's leave it to the educators.
But you are in Kentucky, all across the country, actually. Here in Jefferson County, you would call this the 15th district, okay, for Jefferson County Public Schools and their PTA. A lot of people don't really understand about the PTA, except for like when we were kids in school, basically, and you always saw those moms, like they were volunteering in the office. They were always there, and I would be like, I'm glad my mom's not here like that, But in the PTA, a lot of people don't understand, especially parents. The PTA, Parent Teachers Association, is there to help you. They do lobby for the parent, the student, and the teacher. Members of the board. I used to be the membership chair for 2 years, honorary membership chair. And, also we can go to that school with that parent, or we can go to Frankfort and lobby for that parent. And a lot of people don't know that the PTA can do that. So, you guys utilize your PTAs.
Yeah, if you want to get involved and have a voice and make sure that education is concerns are being addressed, then that's a great existing opportunity to do so. That's for sure. All right, so I think we've got a few stories queued up from you, Kimberly. News under 5, but I think we're going to do a special kind of focus because it is February. It's Black History Month, so I'm just going to throw it over to you, Kimberly.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. And I just want to put a personal little caveat to that I believe that we do get February as Black History Month. And I think everybody has heard of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I think everybody has heard of Muhammad Ali. So I always like to, during these times, speak about some Black history heroes and sheroes that you may have never heard before. But before we get to that, let's get to a couple of current issues that are happening right now. Yesterday in Frankfort, in the Rotunda, the Legislative Black Caucus put on a Black History Month event yesterday, and it was all about honoring the late and great Daryl T. Owens. That could be a name from the past. You may remember it or maybe not, but I will tell you this, a few caveats about Daryl T. Owens. He always was a civil rights leader, and he was a Kentucky state representative. and he used to be the commissioner. Okay. And I knew Mr. Daryl Owens. He was always a sweetie pie. He really was. And so also, he was honored posthumously with the Legacy Award. And so his family accepted it on his behalf. So he was a graduate right here in Louisville, Kentucky, of the great and famous Central High School. And he always focused on issues concerning criminal justice, public education, social services, voter rights, and the felony expungement bill. So he did serve in the Army. A lot of people didn't know that. And another little caveat for you. He was the first African American to ever run for mayor here in Louisville, Kentucky. So we honor and know that a lot of the things that are happening for us, the good things that are happening for us, the good trouble that has allowed different bills to be passed, we can honor and we can give some of that credit to Daryl T. Owens. What a great man. I'm gonna truly miss him. I am so sorry if you guys didn't have an opportunity to know who he was or what he stood for, but he was a great man. So on my second little story that we got today, if you got kids, you might want to take them out of the room, because in order to tell you this story, I might have to say a word or two, or maybe I'll just spell it. Okay. But Hal Rogers tells the chairperson of the U.S. Congressional Black Caucus, yes, was told that, you know what? Somebody's taking this link, so I can't click on it. There it is, by Miss Joyce Beatty. Okay, she is the leader. She is the chairwoman or person for the United States Black Caucus. So when she was heading to the House floor for votes, she says, I respectfully asked my colleague, Representative Hal Rogers, to put on a mask while I was boarding the train. He then poked my back, demanding I get on the train. When I asked him not to touch me, he responded, can you, ladies and gentlemen, believe this? He responded, kiss my ass. Kiss my grits. So he also says to her that she was cool as a cucumber with the disrespect that was shown to her, not only as just being a woman, but being a colleague as well. So also it says, when you are ready to grow up and apologize for your behavior, you know where to find me. So this is what she told Representative Hal Rogers. Excuse me. So yes, as you can tell, the Republican Party has gone completely rogue. Where is the respect? Just humanistic respectfulness. So that leads me into someone that I would like to talk to you all about really, really quickly. Oh, Hal Rogers, once everybody told him that he was acting like a absolute asinine ASS, he took to Twitter and apologized, right? Like he says, this afternoon I met with Representative Beatty to personally apologize. My words were not acceptable, and I expressed my regret to her first and foremost. Yeah, okay, like that right there is so sick because it's not genuine. It is not genuine. And somewhere along the line, he thought that he could disrespect a woman and tell a grown woman, a professional, respectable woman, kiss my, and I know she was like, oh, looking at that, I would never kiss that. I know she said that, honey. So now we're going to lead on to Kentuckians. We want to talk about Black History Month, yes, but this time let's talk about some Kentuckians that have made waves all across this country. I bet you didn't know that Garrett Augustus Morgan was born in Paris, Kentucky. Yes, if you're in Paris, Kentucky, whoop whoop for you, because he was the son of former slaves. But guess what? He invented the gas mask. Yes, he did. And in World War II, the military used his invention, the original gas mask. And when you are at a traffic light, whether it be red, green, or caution, yellow, anytime you see one of those, remember Mr. Garrett Augustus Morgan, because he is the father of the traffic light. So I just wanted to make sure that I was telling you just a couple of people today. So we told you about Darrell T. Owens, a Kentuckian history, Black history, our history as Kentucky, and also about Augustus Morgan, Mr. Garrett Augustus Morgan, father of the traffic light and the gas mask. Back to you, Aaron.
That's awesome. Thank you for that information. Paris, Kentucky, the home of the originator of the traffic light and the gas mask. A lot of safety. He's a safety-minded individual, clearly. And we are thankful for his contributions, and I'm glad that we can now, recognize them. All right, so I think we're going to get on to our interview as our next stop on this show. I'm very excited to have with us this evening Lane Boldman. Lane is the executive director of the Kentucky Conservation Committee, which is really, I think, our kind of watchdog on the scene in Frankfort. If you're concerned about the environment like I am, we all should be, because we, like I said earlier, there's no planet B. We got this one. And of course, Kentucky is a beautiful state that has so much, so much to lose. And of course, so much that's been impacted by our, history with the coal industry. But there's a lot to be done. I don't know that the current supermajority has environmental conservation as their primary motivating factor there in Frankfort, and really excited to be joined by Lane to chat with us about what's happening there in Frankfort. Welcome, Lane.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Kimberly Nate? Doing really well. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. I know that during the session, you can have late nights. You can have. I hope you're not missing any votes right now, but I do want to just recognize the work you put in there. I've seen it firsthand pre-pandemic. I don't really know how it is. It's how you're dealing with the pandemic exactly, but I've seen the work you do, the time you put in, and the just number of pieces of legislation you have to keep an eye out for. They don't necessarily make it easy. With a lot of kind of last minute shenanigans in terms of things that they're trying to get through. Seems rare that they're proudly sharing the information about some of the bills that you're trying to fight. It seems like more their MO is to kind of sneak it through. But thank you so much for coming on with us. And I'd just like to hear a little bit about what is the Kentucky Conservation Committee, kind of what your role is, what work you do, and then if you could just share a few of the important bills that you're keeping an eye on this session.
Sure. Well, thanks for inviting me to the program, and Aaron and I go way back, farther back than a lot of folks. But the Kentucky Conservation Committee, we've been around since 1975, and we kind of work more behind the scenes. Our role is to be a watchdog on environmental issues in Frankfort. And then we partner with other organizations that just don't have the lobbying capacity that we do. And so we partner with about 13 different organizations, keeping them in the loop on bills and progress. And then we have our own membership. We've got about 1,000 members that we work with, individual citizens. And we basically review any bill that has any environmental impact, and we have a 13-member board of professionals in a whole bunch of different environmental areas, a lot of them former state workers themselves. And we review the bills weekly and rank them and have them up on our website. We've got well over 100 up there right now. So that's the short answer of what we do.
Wow. So that's 100 bills that you're tracking and keeping an eye on their status. And I know there's one specifically you thought, we should know about. It's been a little bit low profile this session about the kind of the protest bill.
Yeah, I mean, our work, we cover 4 main areas, which is climate change, biodiversity, land conservation, and clean energy. But we also get into a lot of just basic civic rights issues. And there are 2 bills that came up this session that really had our concerns on the right to protest. And those are Senate Bill 44, which is Danny Carroll, and House Bill 396, which is Steve Sheldon. And both of these are just really disconcerting. And we've got a fact sheet that you can download on our website that gives you the full details on these bills. And I actually made a special, not this one, but a special one for Progress Kentucky that shows Aaron in a protest. Along with myself. We were in DC and we're part of a climate march. And so I made that link especially for this program. But
yeah, just put it in the chat so if folks want to see it. I thought that, I had not realized that we were standing so close. This was like, I knew Lane a bit, I think, at that point, maybe, because we'd done some Sierra Club stuff together. This was before I actually moved to Kentucky. And I was looking for a photo for for this show that I could share out, to let people know you were coming. And I was, clicking through your Facebook profile, and I saw that picture. Like, wait a minute, we were standing like right next to each other. I don't know if we knew that. But yeah, it was a big march, important march. This is the Obama administration pushing him to be better on climate. I don't know, maybe we need to do another one for the Biden administration to make sure that they kind of follow through on their promises around climate. But yeah, sorry, just a thanks you for finding that picture. It really is interesting. It was a great march, except how cold it was.
It was very cold, very cold. And I participate in protest occasionally, not that often, but for a lot of environmental activists, it's a very effective tool. The ones I've been involved in have always been very peaceful and very organized. But the bills, both of them, kind of have a very loose definition of what a riot is defined as. Under SB 44, someone can be charged with any offense during, quote, the course of a riot and may not be released for 48 hours after their arrest. And Kentucky broadly defines riot as a group of 5 or more people who disturb the public by tumultuous and violent conduct and creates a grave danger of property damage or injury or substantially obstructs law enforcement or other government functions. And, it's in the eye of the beholder, right? Unfortunately, both of these laws are really concerning to us because the definitions, in my opinion, are so loose. I understand what the bill sponsors were trying to do, but it really does create some disincentives and hurdles for anyone who wants to participate in a peaceful protest. For example, SB 44 bans protests and vigils on government property. You may not know sometimes if you're on government property, but in certain cases, the bill would effectively bar 24-hour protests on most government property, making it a Class A misdemeanor. Up to a year in jail. So it also has some new stand your ground justifications for violence during a riot. And it also has penalties for blocking traffic. So, we have a lot of concerns about both of these bills. And I understand that a lot of the civic organizations have their hands full right now with, the CRT bills and all these other silly things that have come up this session. So we want to make a particular push on these 2 bills.
Okay, so that is Senate Bill 44, House Bill 396. And if folks, are, if you haven't called recently, you should call the legislative comment line. We can put the number in there and make sure everyone, has it at their fingertips. Don't call now. It's, I don't know. It depends on when you're listening to this, because if you're listening to the podcast and it's, kind of when are they open? What's the earliest you can call over there? Anyone know?
Oh, gee, I haven't checked lately. Sometimes the hours get moved around because of COVID. But just normal business hours.
9 to 5. Be safe. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Carroll bill, the SB 44, is in the Judiciary Committee right now, but it hasn't been called up yet. The Sheldon bill, HB 396, has not yet been assigned to committee, but I'm kind of surprised Sheldon filed this more recently, because the Carroll bill has gotten a whole lot of terrible press. I mean, the Herald Leader had an editorial that called his stand on that bill and one other just un-American. So he's certainly not getting good press for this.
Well, good. You shouldn't get, it's a horrible idea. And I'm sorry, but like, where else are you supposed to protest? Like, government property, like, we are the government. It's our property. Of course we should be able to protest on government property. I'm sorry, but that just seems like an arbitrary line to cross. I guess we should be thankful because they aren't letting you drive into protesters with this bill, right? I think that is something that's happened around the country, is they've structured some of these anti-protest bills to the degree that like you'll be okay if you have to drive over a protester.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just the thing I'm concerned about is all the definitions are so very vague. Like on House Bill 396, they have heightened penalties for disrupting meetings. It would make it a Class A misdemeanor to do any act tending to obstruct or interfere with a lawful meeting. Okay, how would you define that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah. Bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah. So that's our big concern with this, and the penalties on some of these charges are pretty severe. Now, this isn't the first time Danny Carroll has filed bills like this. He actually had one passed last session that did get watered down before it ultimately passed, but there's a long history of him wanting to file these bills, and he's a former police officer, so I kind of get it. I spent many years working closely with police officers in my previous life, and I get that. I understand what he's trying to do, but if you look, these kind of bills are being filed in multiple states. There's a really great organization called the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law that tracks all these. So if you just do a Google search on protest law tracker, they'll show you all the similar bills that are happening in many, many states, and there's hundreds.
Wow. So, and then I'm sure there are other bills though that, of the 100 that you're keeping an eye on. We don't have time for 100, but what else do you have in terms of what's moving, or what is, something that we're concerned about, because it seems like forces are aligned and trying to get it through?
Yeah, we're lucky so far that not too many of the ones we've been watching have moved very far. I think the legislature's too busy trying to eviscerate some of the education systems right now and work on the budget. But one we're very concerned about is a bill by Representative Gooch. It's HB 341. It's on utility rates. And it basically allows the utilities the right for a quicker approval process to raise your rates. And this impacts everybody. It provides less notice, less public participation for rate changes, less opportunity for citizens to intervene in a rate case. Doesn't allow public meetings on utilities serving fewer than 25,000 customers, 250,000 customers, sorry, which is most of the utilities. So that one is for sure one that we want to make sure doesn't go very far. It also has gotten a lot of attention in the media, fortunately, but we'd like to keep this on everyone's radar, because I suspect that these are the kind of bills that will move later in the session when there's less time to really stop them.
Yeah, but this one has definitely gotten some attention. There was an opinion piece, I think today, that ran in Lexington Herald that was from somebody who was, I think, staff at the PSC for quite a while, and raised some of the concerns that you're saying. So this is just, really a kind of minimizing the public's ability to have a say, minimizing the public's ability to get the information, putting a lot more in the hands of the PSC to kind of, move things forward, which of course, the Public Service Commission's gotten some attention recently because, they are actually the only body that could kind of tell KU to stop cutting trees, right? Like, and that's something that here in Lexington, folks got very up in arms about when they, started really hacking away at the trees underneath some of their right-of-ways. And there's nothing really that the city could do about it. I think they, threatened a lawsuit, and of course you can sue anyone over a lot of things, but in terms of actual regulated behavior, it is the PSC that can do some of these things.
Yeah,
So
and we do anticipate a tree bill to be filed before the session is out, so stand by for that.
Oh, good.
And the Public Service Commission, we also have been trying to make sure that they're well funded, because their workload has increased tremendously, and they are the watchdog right now for customers. It seems now there is the Attorney General as well, but he seems to be focused more on the industries at the moment. So we want to make sure that in the budget bill that the Public Service Commission receives its full funding. So if you want to comment on the budget, please bring that up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things going on in the budget. And I will say this, it seems like the PSC, has been, seemingly rational, at least. I know that one of the things that we worked on together was the idea of the net metering bill. So whether, if you had rooftop solar, what kind of a rate would you get from the utility when you fed into the grid? And that was one that was a very long fight, and the utilities wanted to get rid of net metering, and unfortunately, ultimately, they did get the bill through. Not as bad as it could have been, of course. But when it went to the PSC actually was pretty pro net metering, it seemed like, and kept intact a lot of the rate structure, so that at least you had a fighting chance to get a decent return on the energy you were given back to the utilities. And that again just goes to say or show how important elections are. The PSC is, they're appointed positions, they're appointed by the governor. Currently, I'm sure the legislature has got some idea about how they could change that. But when Andy came in and we got rid of Bevan, the appointments got a lot better. The people were see their role as being watchdogs for the public interest, as opposed to just servicing the industries that they regulate.
Sure. So that's one of the things we're working on too. And then we don't ignore the traditional conservation land areas either. So we also have a plea for that in the budget as well, to make sure our land conservation fund is fully funded. And if you go to the web link that Aaron, I think you've provided in the chat for our legislative resources, we have several downloadable handouts that give you more detail on all of those issues, and a couple more. And those are the big bills we're working on at the moment. But come back to that page, and we'll be adding talking points and handouts on a regular basis all through the session.
That's wonderful. That's so great. Excellent. And then I want to turn to my co-host, see, Nate, I think you had a question you might want to ask.
Yeah, not to take up too much of Lane's time, because I know you're very busy, but I saw on the website that that the Kentucky Conservation Committee had a legislative summit just last month, and that one big topic was going to be how a large solar project might impact its land and habitat. And I read that and thought, that I've heard about windmills, but solar I didn't know about. So would you mind sharing anything about that?
Yeah, that's actually been one of the biggest issues we've worked on for the last couple of years. Is Kentucky's suddenly been the place to be for what's called merchant solar projects. These are large-scale projects that sell power on the open market, or can sell to local corporation like Toyota. But these are very large scale. They can take up a lot of acreage, and so farmland is often an attractive location for them to scout. They need to be near transmission lines, and so what we've been trying to do is kind of work on the nexus between the farmers and the clean energy folks, because there's issues to work out between the two of them. We want to see farmland preserved as much as possible. We also want to see clean energy. And sometimes these companies are coming into communities where the communities really aren't well prepared. They don't understand what these companies are or what they do. So we put together a citizen's guide to help them get up to speed on what the issues are, what they should be asking for, what are the best practices. There's about 30 of these projects that are at some stage of application or approval right now. And so it's coming into the state pretty fast. And in some communities, they welcome it. In some communities, they have a lot of issues with it. But it mostly comes down to it's a new situation. And if the companies are good at engaging the communities first, they do better than companies that just think they can come on in and eat up everyone's farmland. So there are two bills right now that are trying to put into statute some regulations around these merchant solar plants. Senator Hornback's Senate Bill 69 and Representative Branscom's HB 392. And 392 seems to be sailing really fast through, although I much prefer Hornback's bill. But the Branscombe bill got the blessings of the Farm Bureau, and it's gone through the chamber in just about a week, which is really fast. It's now in the Senate, so we'll see what happens between that bill and Senator Hornback's bill.
I just love, I think solar has got such potential, and it's really important for us to kind of embrace where it makes sense. Obviously, you don't want to see good farmland disappear,
Right.
but it does seem like sheep-like solar panels. I've seen some wonderful pictures of sheep and solar panels coexisting, and of course, we've got a ton of not terribly reclaimed, coal mining impacted communities, areas. Of course, we've had Adam Edelin on the show in the past about some of his larger developments and kind of what they're doing and where they're doing it. Not a lot of dispute there, that it makes a lot of sense to take advantage of that. And of course, got a lot of roofs too, right? There's a lot of area in this even in the kind of most developed areas where you could absolutely put solar panels. But
yeah, we'd like to see more attention being paid to the rooftop solar now. I mean, the big guys are already in here and working away. I've been to Adam Edelin's project. It's really exciting. But one of the things that people need to be aware of, it may make sense to put these things on mountaintop mines, but they still have to work with the communities. I mean, these are communities that have been exploited for energy in the past, so they can just as easily be exploited for clean energy. So how you work with the communities is the message we're trying to push.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I see, hey, Kimberly, I don't know if you had any questions for Lane or any thoughts you wanted to add, but give you the floor to do so.
No, I mean, you guys were asking like the best questions. Like every time I had a question to ask her, like one of you guys asked it. So I think she just about covered everything. I love what you do.
Appreciate it.
And she's not alone. Obviously, I'm a fan, but Sandy Downs there is making a wonderful comment on Facebook. Very impressed by the steadfast temperament of folks like you, Lane, to do the work day in, day out. I know that, I spent some time in the legislature. That was enough. It is a very challenging environment to do this work. As I've said a number of times, the first time you watch the circus, it's really interesting, but having a front row seat again and again and again to the chaos seems like a little exhausting. So I appreciate what you do. I know day in and day out it can be it's hard to find the bright spots sometimes, but what I do know is that you guys are winning time and time again, making bad bills better, killing bad bills completely. It requires that steadfast engagement and paying attention to the details. And thank you for being there day in and day out. And please don't hesitate ever to share with us what's breaking now, when do we need the calls, because I know that the public's voice really does matter, because we've had a number of legislators on the show tell us how important those slips are, and the calls from constituents absolutely makes a difference in how they look at bills. So
well, I just want to make one more plug too on those protest bills. If there are organizations that want to work with us on these, we welcome you, or individuals. Just email us, and that will be a focus as soon as those things move. Hopefully they won't.
Right. Yep. Well, we're in. Well, whatever you need from Progress Kentucky. I mean, we didn't exactly vote. We just had a board meeting, but I feel like well within what we like to do, which is we're into legal protests, and we don't want to like narrow the window of what's legal. Let's make sure that the public has the right to be engaged and make sure their voice is heard. But any final thoughts or final kind of things you'd like to make sure that our viewers are hearing from you, Lane?
Yeah, I mean, just check out our bill list. Everything's linked on our homepage, the downloadable handouts, and then our full bill list. And there are some really good bills right now. They're not getting much traction because a lot of them seem to be filed by the Democrats. Those probably aren't going to move. If they move, they won't move till late in the session. But some really good bills, and some more that just came in tonight. So yeah, and they are making it tricky for us. It's a little hard to catch these things since they shorten the window for notice when the bills are filed. So we do stay up pretty late at night checking through all of them.
Well, better you than me. No, thank you, Lane, for that important work. And again, it's critically necessary to make sure that they don't sneak stuff through, because that's how they get it done. They sneak it through. It's rare that they're shouting from the rooftops how wonderful and important their legislation is. They like slam it through as quickly as they can, try to keep the number of people aware of what they're up to, just to the lobbyists who are paying them to get it through. I mean, not paying them. They're not directly paying them. They're just making exorbitant campaign contributions on their behalf. So, there's a lot of work to be done to keep an eye on these, what's going on behind the curtain, right? I'm sure you're not invited into all the places where they're plotting strategy, and in fact, they try to keep you even out of the hearing rooms by like changing when the hearings are going to happen and not giving notice about when bills are going to, until they are legally required, right? I've seen that firsthand. It's just, it's sad that that's how they got to get stuff done, and you would hope that if they're proud of what they're trying to do, they would let the public see it. But
we had one last night that it wasn't on the calendar for today, and we found out from a blogger. So the grassroots, that's where it's at, folks. Y'all help us out, and we keep paying attention to all those blogs as well, because you give us clues.
Yeah, well, I know that Doug Price represents us on, the kind of CAVE legislative committee, and I know that it's really important to have those places where we can share information and share opportunities to get involved. But it is absolutely reliant on people like you guys who are there day in and day out, you and Randy and other folks who are doing that work. So keep at it. Thank you very much. And I'm assuming if folks wanted to support you beyond making phone calls, they want to make a donation. I know every year you guys do a really cool fundraiser, the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, which is here in Lexington. I think going to be back in person. I'm assuming next year.
I hope so. Yeah, as soon as the Kentucky Theater opens back up, we may do it earlier this year. It just depends. Stand by.
Awesome. Thanks for all you do, and like I said, do not hesitate to be in contact if there's anything we can do to help spread the word. So, all right, we're going to move on to our close, our kind of final shout out as we head into the end of this episode. There is a call to action that I want to just remind everyone. We are not messing around here, people. We have got some really important work to do if we're going to turn our Commonwealth a less bright red shade. We're heading towards purple. We got a plan to do it. We need your support to make it happen. Join our door-to-door or phone canvassing effort. Help us determine the best, most powerful way to discuss economic issues with rural county voters, the voters that we will need to support progressive policies and politicians if we're ever going to see a more compassionate Commonwealth. This organizing is critical to persuade more people to vote for politicians who will stand against the GOP's anti-worker, anti-teacher, anti-public health agenda, to turn out these voters to win close elections. So sign up right now, please, to help out. We're going to be calling this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. Do not worry. We'll wrap up in time so you can watch the Bengals beat up on the Rams, hopefully. And that is going to be happening this Sunday. If you have not seen the event, it is in our Facebook group. I will try to find it and share it in the chat. I should have done that ahead of time. Sorry. Sometimes I don't get everything done like I want it to be done. And then one other thing I want to just point out is that we're calling on Sunday. We're going to be canvassing, actually knocking on doors in Clark County with this kind of deep economic message testing, having conversation with those folks about the role they think government should be playing to make sure there's a level playing field for our economy. That is going to be Clark County on not this Saturday, but next Saturday. They're going to be meeting up at 2:00. At one of our members, homes, and then we'll do a kind of training, and we'll go out there. We got 4 targeted precincts. We're really looking to go deep in and see if we can shift the overall impact of the votes in that area by having these conversations. So, it's slow going. It's hard work. It's a lot like it's you put the time in, and you don't have a guarantee of the outcome. But what you do have is the guarantee you're going to feel better about the work you're doing for our democracy, because you're actually doing something, not just complaining, right? Like, it's easy to just complain. I do it a lot, but we got to put the work in to try to make things different and make things better. So that's what I've got. I'm going to hand it over to my dear sister Kimberly to go ahead and close us out.
What a great show tonight, Aaron and Nate. I tell you, you guys were batting 100 as far as I can concern. But you know what? You had a little bit of help. You had a great guest tonight, Miss Elaine Boldman. I mean, she's very knowledgeable about what she does. She's very passionate also about what she does. So I really enjoyed listening to her tonight. So, we'll be back next week, right? At the same time that we're always on every Wednesday night. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise who the guest is going to be. We got a couple of things we got to do just to lock it down, but I promise you, I give you my word that you will enjoy this guest, most definitely. So I just have to put the little disclaimer out here. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State, organized as a 501c4, is affiliated with the Indivisible Project, okay? And the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. So some of the graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. Yes, you can get more about them and what they do over at couchfiremedia.com. They do great work. Check them out. And tonight, our young lady, Miss Annabelle, was not here tonight. So you guys let us know. Comment. How did Aaron do running the show tonight? I think he did an excellent job, but you put it in the comments what you really thought about how he did tonight with Annabelle being off tonight. So also, we have to always thank the man, Mr. Nate. The music that you hear comes strictly from him. Visit him, excuse me, on his website, which is natosongs.com, N-A-T-O songs.com. So in case you missed it, right? We don't want you in an accident or anything trying to rush home to look at Kernels of Truth. But you could always check us out on Facebook. You can rewatch the shows and see our source links on Facebook as well. Or you might want to be at work or, taking your jog or whatever, and you can listen to us. And we are available on most streaming platforms such as Apple, Google, Spotify, and just about wherever you get your podcast from. So do something nice for somebody this week. Okay, doesn't cost you anything. Pay it forward. Be there for someone. Have a listening ear without being judgmental. Things that really don't take any time and really don't take any money. So until then, we'll see you next week, okay, at 7 p.m. Have a good one. Peace out.